I would like to call this regular Board of Education regular meeting 6:06 on this Wednesday, February 16th. If I could please start with a roll call.
Colleen Klimczak,
Here.
Claudia Parker,
Here.
Kim Leonard here, Judy Rayson,
Here.
Rachel Marquin,
Here.
Michael Miller,
Present.
Denise Jones.
Yes.
All is accounted.
Excellent. If we could stand, please, for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, I have a few things prepared for this evening. First, I want to mention the Open Meetings Act. The Open Meetings Act is a state law which provides the statutory guidelines for conducting public meetings for public bodies, including school boards. Under the Open Meeting Act, or OMA, this board cannot conduct business unless at a public meeting. We cannot act without a meeting. We can only meet at a public meeting like tonight's meeting. Tonight's meeting is our first opportunity to discuss the happenings in the last 12 days as a board. And it's good to see you all. So, I would like to I'd like to amend the agenda that you have all in front of you on the basis of moving up one item relevant to closed session previously posted as item 11. Additionally, I would like to add a closed session to discuss to discuss collective negotiating matters between the district and its employees or their representatives. And I would like to add an item relevant to closed session to discuss security procedures, school building safety and security, and the use of personnel and equipment to respond to an actual, a threatened, or reasonably potential danger to the safety of employees, students, staff, the public, or public property. Can I please have a motion to adjourn to closed session?
I'll make the first motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
Michael or Rachel?
Oh, I didn't hear.
This is where Mary Quinn can have it.
Kim Leonard, yes.
I'm sorry.
Rachel.
We are making a motion to approve the agenda to go into closed session, add an extra closed session now.
Yep.
We're taking one of the parts out and moving it up.
And
Rachel Marquin,
Yes.
Colleen Klimczak,
yes.
Michael Miller,
Okay.
Denise Jones.
Yes.
Judith Rayson,
Yes.
Claudia Parker.
Yes.
Motion is passed.
Excellent. So we will recess to closed session and we will be back ASAP. into open session at 6:48 p.m. on Wednesday, February 16th.
As a result of closed session, I would like to make the recommendation that the district transitions from mandatory indoor masking into a strongly recommended masking environment effective Tuesday, February 22nd, and reserves the right to return to mandatory indoor masking if required by law or warranted by local metrics.
Under the resolution adopted by the board on August 4th, 2021, the superintendent was authorized to modify the 21-22 Return to Learn plan as appropriate to facilitate the operation of the schools and the safety of students, staff, visitors, and other participants in the district's programs. The superintendent has recommended that the district transition from mandatory indoor masking to a mask strongly recommended environment effective Tuesday, February 22nd, and reserves the right to return to mandatory indoor masking if required by law or warranted by local metrics. Is there a motion to modify the 21-22 Return to Learn plan as recommended by the superintendent?
I'll make the motion.
Rachel, and a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Miller, and a roll call, please.
Rachel Merrickwin,
Yes.
Michael Miller,
Yay.
Denise Jones,
With staff members having 89 to 93% vaccination rate here in the district, and with the family members, growing numbers of vaccination, I am in agreement with mask optional, and I also would suggest that we will continue with the vaccination sites as well as COVID testing if need be.
thank you. Judy Rayson,
Out of concern for families that are affected by medical concerns and staff members who are affected by medical concerns, and just my strong belief that we should be making our decisions based on Department of Health and medical recommendations, I'm going to vote no.
thank you. Kimberly Leonard, it's a real challenge for me to marry both concerns. I am going to go ahead with voting yes for Amanda for strongly recommended masking. So I am voting yes. Claudia Parker,
You know what, I agree with both sides. I feel like, Judy, you have a very strong point. There is a very real risk still in play as it pertains to COVID. I myself have a child with a disability. She is very vulnerable to this disease, so it is a great concern of mine as well. However, I do believe that this is beyond any of our control. Masks are going to go away whether we choose to accept the science or the health concerns. It's going to be taken out of our control, but right now, while we do have the option to accommodate the request of our community, I will go with that.
That's a yes.
So I will go with strongly recommended.
Colleen Klimczak,
Also with reservations, many reservations. My concerns are more of the enforceability going forward. I think we've all learned a lot over the last 12 days, and mask mandates aren't sustainable at present, even if I still think that they should be advised. So I will vote yes.
motion is passed, 6 yeses, 1 no. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
In an effort to plan for this appropriately, we will also be calling an e-learning day tomorrow, Thursday, February 17th. And that is,
Kidding me?
that is
You guys are
what are we doing?
so unbelievable.
That is twofold. That is relevant to inclement weather, and it's also relevant to properly communicating to our community and properly communicating to our teachers.
Paying our taxes.
Why are we? Why don't we start there?
Y'all can't be serious. Y'all
Most
can't
corrupt,
be serious.
statewide,
They got 5 days
federal,
off.
state, local, all of it. So corrupt. It's ridiculous. You You couldn't answer any emails for 2
All right,
weeks.
Colleen, Ms.
And then
Klimczak, would you
yesterday
move
you
forward?
started
I'm
answering
sorry,
them?
we are not doing public
Yeah, I'm
comment.
sorry
Can't hear
too,
you.
that we
Can't
have
hear
to
you.
be
Take
in
the
this
mask
room
off.
together.
I won't be taking my
I know
mask
you
off.
won't.
Thank you. So, to keep us all on track, a few reminders. This is a school board meeting.
Yes, it is.
This is the district's school board's opportunity to meet and discuss all the business of the district in this month. This is the board's meeting. I do not take for granted the opportunity to meet in person, since it was denied to us when we could not meet because of the original pandemic. We do have a lot to cover, and we'll hear from many stakeholders this evening, including during public comments, and I'll say more at that time. I wrote most of these words yesterday before the news broke at dinner time. I had a lengthy education piece prepared because we are expecting many stakeholders to attend what would be their first board meeting this evening. And I am looking forward to walking folks through the process that we have. Legalities have changed in the last 24 hours. Numbers and science and the current status of the pandemic have not changed in the last 24 hours. There are not sides in this conversation because there are nuances and layers. There are no wins and there are no losses in this conversation.
The loss is the children.
For every angry
Full 2
email,
years.
Child
Here,
abuse.
here.
for every angry email I receive from a parent against masking, I also receive an email from a parent pleading for caution.
Wear your masks. We
Wear
just
your
want
mask.
the option. We just
Excuse
want
me.
the We just want the
board
option.
All they
meeting.
cost
You
is
should
let
have
them wear their
responded to
mask.
us 2 weeks ago.
We can have you removed if we cannot
What else
continue
are you
our
gonna
public
do?
work.
What else are you gonna do? You're losing these kids in the district. Remove us.
I'm gonna
100%
continue,
of the
thank you.
kids can't speak because of these dumb masks.
The loudest voices we hear are not the only voices, or even the majority
All
of
of that
voices.
science, 300%.
In every classroom in our district and beyond, there are not just students. There are teachers and paraprofessionals
For every
as
30
well.
parents, there's one.
Our
Risk
teachers-
drive to the school. Are you
Our
serious?
teachers have adapted
Gotta
again
risk every day.
and again, and we still have the choice to keep them safe. We are voting for mask optional, yes, but we are stating masks strongly encouraged. Strongly recommended means we can still choose to take steps that protect our students, our teachers, and any other person that we come in contact with. There are dozens of concerns that our district is working through at any given moment. I actually made a list at one point, just to make sure my guess was correct. Masking was not even on the list, for or against. Our upcoming strategic planning process, horizontal and vertical curriculum alignment, the national teacher and substitute teacher shortage, our current negotiation cycle, shoring up district culture, making sure the handbook is aligned with Senate Bill 100, addressing learning loss from the pandemic, the national mental health crisis for our tweens and teens, really all of our students and staff, facilities, this summer's projects and longer term projects, better use of the Evergreen Park Education Foundation, space limitations in the district. We have a lot of work to do. When I have gone on social media in the last few months, I have noticed that at least 2 of our building booster clubs have asked for volunteers and leadership to step up for next year. Just this afternoon, the Evergreen Park Education Foundation was supposed to meet, and that wonderful nonprofit organization is always looking for willing and enthusiastic parents to get involved. As the noise and furor dies down over this most recent debate, I encourage each of us to channel that well-intentioned energy into other worthwhile pursuits that will have positive and direct impact on our schools and our students. Thank you. So, if you would like to refer to your agenda, we are moving on to our staff reports.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you.
Okay, our next update is relevant to Mr. Shannon Swilly. He is going to present out information as it relates to our most recent town hall meeting. Hello, Mr. Swilly.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. Just wanted to kind of share out the highlights of the document that was created in response to our town hall meeting, and just kind of share out really briefly one of the things that we wanted to do in reference to short-term goals, in reference to immediate goals, and long-term goals. So we are looking first with communication. We wanted to be sure that we are communicating proactively with our families and with our teachers And we also wanted to increase our social media presence in an effort to make sure that people understand and know the things that are going on that are really good at Central Middle School. So that was a conversation that we had with our staff also. When it comes to student safety, we wanted to talk a little bit about visibility, making sure that all adults are consistently visible in the hallways. We have a very, very good turnout of our teachers being present in the hallways. We also wanted to increase security guards / hall monitors to be in spaces where we cannot have teachers or an admin at all times. So dedicated people to being in the hallways, making sure that we're able to see what our students are doing and when. Another really big one is our Parents as Partners Committee. We want to create a Parents as Partners Committee to establish parent-teacher committee that can create the opportunity for shared leadership and feedback. And we also want to include or encourage, parents to be involved in our booster program. So we have a CMS booster program. We want to encourage more people to be involved in that. I've talked to you before about our master schedule. It is so important that we increase our instructional minutes with our master schedule. And also we want to decrease the times that we have transitions in the building as we know the number of students in the building. Student safety, we are looking at our handbook to ensure that our handbook actually is up to date and that it is aligned with SB 100, which is a very important process for discipline as we are looking into next school year and moving forward. And when we talk about transitions from 5th grade to 6th grade, one of the transitions that'll be a highlight is the Fast Forward program, which will happen in late May, where we will invite all 5th graders into our building for a half-day experience at Central Middle School.
That's a great idea.
That's awesome.
And then last two we would mention here is we have partnered with DePaul University, who is willing to work with our staff, our students, and our parents.
So excited for that.
Working in the process of trying to get this schedule solidified, but they are willing to come out and do some workshops that will really focus on empathy, on how to understand others' challenges and how to understand your own challenges and your own traumas that you may have in an effort to make sure that everyone is realizing exactly how much our behaviors impact others. So, and lastly, we are working hard to really shore up the social emotional learning of our students. And in doing so, the board has given us the opportunity to hire a third social worker so that when students are in distress, like we see often, we have resources for them to be able to talk through and work through their concerns, and we have all those things available for them. Those are the highlights. That's not the only part of the plan, but I didn't want to take up too much of your time, so any questions?
I loved the summer idea that they could come and take their walk through.
Yes.
They can learn how to do the locker combination. That was like a big hurdle for my boys. I remember that. That was a big deal. I thought that was brilliant. I
think
really like that
it's good
idea.
for kids to be able to have some of those anxieties appeased prior to coming in.
Can I make it from point A to point B, like in the numbers allotted, the minutes allotted? Like that's really huge.
I'm very excited to hear that our master schedule, you're working hard. It's been a very long process, I'm sure. So
Yeah.
I appreciate everything. I also have a middle schooler there. I am so proud of the work your administrators and staff and paras, they are all working so hard for our kids. And we don't take it lightly that, that these are some big tasks that you have given yourselves to do this year and work through.
And thank you for making yourself vulnerable at the town hall and having the courage to hear things that weren't all pleasant all the time, but you took the beat back. You've made some implementations already. I think that's very important on both ends to be able to embrace feedback in order to make changes that will make improvements for everybody, not just our students, but also the staff, as well as to put some of the parents that had concerns at ease. Dr. Woodland, I also felt like you did an exemplary job in being able to just listen, because that gives people the hope that they need to be heard. So great job on all ends.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was a really productive evening.
Yeah.
Guys, have a good evening.
This is great. This is such a nice little snapshot, so thank you.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you very much.
Our next update is from Ms. Mr. Philip Abraham, our Director of Human Resources.
Good evening. How are we all doing? All right. So I'm here to actually celebrate because I think we have a lot of great news. There's a lot of great things happening in Evergreen 124. And one thing that I'd like to share with you all, and I'm going to literally call this short and sweet. So when you look at the buckets, I like to work in buckets. So when you look at from November, yep, there you go. It's right behind you. So when you look at November 8th and on to present day, we have hired 25 people. Okay. Yeah, I think so. I like to give everybody props for that because there are so many people that are heavily involved in this process. It's not a one-man show. It's a lot of people that are heavily involved. That takes a lot of patience, persistence, communication, collaboration, and most importantly, trust in the process. And so there's so many people that in this system have been part of this in order from start, during the process, and at the end, and then it's an ongoing process with the onboarding piece that have been involved. And not one person, when you look at those numbers out of the 25, the way it's broken down into these buckets, there's not one person that's greater than the other. It's whether it's someone that's shoveling snow so people can get in and out of school and out of the doorway, it's keeping the schools clean, it's covering an FMLA leave in the classroom, it could be a certified math teacher, paraprofessionals that are working with students in need. So every single person that we hire is very, very important and critical to our system in our school. So I'm very proud of all the work that everybody has done in order to make this happen and continue to grow because we have 25 new people here that are here for a variety of reasons. So that's something to be proud of, something definitely to celebrate.
Yes, excellent.
Where we are currently is in a much better place than where we were, but again, it's through the work of everybody. So right now we have, if you see there, district-wide, we have a network administrator that Matt's been working on. We've been working together, and that he is bringing on 3 to 4 to maybe 5 people and interviewing them for the network administrator. So we have people that have applied there from different avenues. Lunch recess, we always need lunch recess people, so we're always looking. But it's always really difficult to find people that are part-time, and when part-time's maybe 2 to 3 hours, that's very difficult to find. So that's an ongoing thing, again, to keep kids safe outside, moving along and watching over them, supervising them. One substitute part-time lunch server, that's because, as what I'll talk about real quick, is that we have this thing I call transitional staffing. So we have people that we've hired, and we've done such a great job onboarding them, and they felt so comfortable and they liked where they were at, they now moved on to a larger role, more time commitment, or totally different type of role, or they've stayed on doing that and added, in addition to that, somewhere under the umbrella of 124. So we have 7 of those staff members that we've onboarded, worked with them, and they've liked so much that they've moved on to another role in our district. So that's where we're at in that position, so that's a new position. What's not on there district-wide is our summer school principalship. So we have one position, but there's a lot of things that we are talking about of kind of what has happened in the past and kind of moving forward, what we feel is best for students. So that is ongoing right now, and we do have internal candidates that have applied that we will be interviewing and hopefully recommending a position within the next week or so. I'd say a week and a half at max. So we're working on that. CMS, we have 1 social worker. So we've had a lot of hiring through CMS this year. And the great news is that we have at least 4 or 5 people that applied. The not so great news is they applied thinking it's next year. So we have a lot of people that are in a current position or they are completing their internship. But that's still great news because we have people already that are interested in this position. With the EL teacher, we do have a couple that applied, but again, they were looking at it as a next year application versus currently, because these are openings right now that we do have available. We have 1 FMLA that we're working on, 2nd grade, and then in Southeast and Northwest right now we have no vacancies there. So that's where we are currently, but I think we're in a really good state right now for vacancies and kind of cutting them down tremendously. We're still going through Handshake, LinkedIn, Frontline, which is our current, what we use for our district. I think word of mouth is huge, especially that we have roughly 45% of our employees here are from Evergreen Park and around the surrounding area. So almost just about half of our staff come from our community, which is awesome. So word of mouth is critical. Also, that's with that transitional piece, a lot of talking, a lot of kind of observing, seeing what's going on, and they like where they're at and they want to continue with work. Student teaching, we have 11 for this spring. I really wanted to challenge ourselves and take on as many as we can. I have a lot of partnerships with a lot of colleges, and so someone's just reached out for an emergency opening, and graciously one of our principals took them on and said, "Oh, let's roll, let's do this."
I
So
can't
now we
ever
added
remember
another
that,
one.
yeah, I don't ever remember that many of it.
So we
That's
have
awesome.
12, and then we have an intern as well. So we have a total of 13 people that are coming in interning or student teaching this spring,
Right.
and one intern for next year. So with that being said, that's another great way to onboard and really kind of interview someone throughout the process. So I love it. Job fairs are coming up. There's virtual, there's in person. So we're looking at where we can kind of spread ourselves out and really kind of give the word and share what we're all about. So, and then the college networking. There's about 5 colleges that I'm in constant communication with that they're looking to provide more and more field experiences. So we have 2 schools, St. Xavier and Trinity, that want to provide field experiences and also tie that into student teaching too. So the more we do that, the more we can kind of work on that onboarding process, like the pre-onboarding is what I would call it. And then there's other things that like through ISU, IASPA, which is a HR network that I belong to, that are also holding these job fairs. So we're looking to do that and kind of wrap our arms around it and move forward and wait until we have more of these openings for next year. And once those are posted, then we're gonna get moving and get to work. So that's where we are right now. I think we're in really good shape. And again, it's like a huge collective community effort. So I think we're doing well and we're making progress, and I'm pretty excited about it. So that's that. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
All right.
Oh, great.
25
Yeah.
since November.
I know.
Sheesh. It's great.
Okay, our next topic is relevant to staffing recommendations for the 22-23 school year. I'm going to give you just a big picture understanding, and then Dr. Newman will review special education specifically. So factors influencing staffing analysis, it's relevant to current class sizes in our elementary and regular education classrooms, current allocation of expenditures in fiscal year 21 and projections for the 22 school year, anticipation of negotiations, which includes a cost analysis relevant to a collective bargaining unit, an increase of special education students to the district this fiscal school year, thus requiring additional staff, and then long-term programmatic goals. So relevant to Gen Ed recommendations, my recommendation is to keep all sections relevant to general education at Southwest and Northwest equivalent to this fiscal school year. Additionally, my recommendation is to increase one section at Southeast due to an increased enrollment at 5th grade. And with that recommendation, class size will be at approximately 18. My recommendation is to decrease one section at Northeast due to a decrease in enrollment at 5th grade. And with this recommendation, class size will be approximately at 20. However, we will monitor this specific section throughout the course of the summer, and there is the potential for me to, based on new enrollment, bring a recommendation to you moving forward. However, at this current state, if we continued with 3 staff members, that would currently make our class size at 13. So relevant to our current enrollment and our enrollment projections, we're recommending a decrease at Northeast. So there is no cost associated with these recommendations to Gen Ed specifically. As Mr. Swilley made you aware, we're still in the process of reviewing the master schedule relevant to some specific language in the collective bargaining agreement. As a result, there's the potential for us to bring additional recommendations relevant to the central middle school schedule to you in March.
True.
Okay, so more to come on that. At this time, you will also see that I gave you projected and cost differential salaries just so you can make a point of comparison. And I'm going to now ask Dr. Newman to come up and speak specifically to special education.
These recommendations come based on projections for next school year. We've had an increase in enrollment, and in discussions with our administrators as well as our teachers, we're looking to expand our programs as well to better support our students. And so overall, we're asking to increase our special ed staff by 4, 2 special education teachers, a social worker, and a psychologist. And then the rationale related to this is to expand the continuum of services for our students. You know, in our self-contained classrooms, we've noticed that there's a lot of variability in their ability, and there is a need to provide more of a functional curriculum for some of our students. And so part of their role will be bringing back one of our programs. When I first started here, we had the PALS program. And we really focused on functional academics in those programs. And so one of the recommendations is to provide a section for K2 and then 3-5. And then based on feedback from our SLP teachers, they would like to have someone push into their classrooms to focus on functional life skills as well. And then both our early childhood program and our SLP program, that structured learning program, our kids really need some additional social emotional support. So that's the reason why we're asking for an additional social worker to be split between Northeast and Northwest School. And then because of some of the shifts that we made last year, we've noticed that we do need an additional psychologist. And so that's the reason why I'm making that recommendation as well.
Our PALs went away at the lower grades because we didn't have kids to fill it. So it's not like we went away with it, it's just that there was no need at that point.
Right.
So now I love that program.
Right.
Great.
So we had it at the elementary buildings, and the students transitioned to the middle school. So we created a classroom for
They
the middle.
aged out of
Yeah.
the K through
Right.
5, right.
And,
That's great, because we have it at Central.
Yes. So I think that our teachers will love having this program come back because they're stretched in trying to meet the needs of, even though it's like a K1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's still a little bit of planning involved in meeting all the diverse needs of the students within their classrooms.
Great. That was a great program. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, so just so you're aware, those are action items on the agenda tonight relevant to staffing for next school year. Yep. Next we have Eric.
We have the statement of revenues. We received about $600,000 in revenues in the education fund in the last month. That's mainly from evidence-based funding. The other main funding that we received is the transportation reimbursements. That was about $60,000. You'll notice that we have only received 45% of the budgeted revenues right now. The state's a little delayed with the payments because at this time last year we were at 51%, so we should expect a lot more revenue coming in. Statement of expenditures, the main change is in the education fund as well. This is due to salaries and benefits. You'll notice that we're at 52% of the budget spent through 7 months, which was a little lower than the 53% from last year. Both are good numbers, as 7 months out of the whole year would be roughly 58.3% of spending, so we're below what it should be at the moment, which is good spending. The fund balance is down a little bit from last month. The state, like I said earlier, didn't make a lot of January payments. A lot of the payments come in like March and April, so we'll start seeing that come back up around that time. In the last month, we were approved to receive the property tax relief grant, which is great news. Only 37 school districts in the state received this grant for a total of $53 million. And so now our next step is there will be a resolution to abate the $1.63 million in property taxes for each of the next two calendar years. This will decrease taxes for each $200,000 market value home by approximately $175 each year. The district will start receiving an additional $1.3 million in their evidence-based funding annually, effective next year. We have received 4 FOIAs over the last month. One from Vince Espy, that FOIA has been completed. One from Lamont Williams, that FOIA has been completed. One from Tom Nugent, that has been completed. And one from Adrian Kyle, and that has also been completed.
Terry Labella's bond, by the way. There's no bond.
Any questions?
Nope, so it's right.
Thanks, guys.
Dr. Carlson.
So I had two things that I wanted to talk a little bit about tonight. I wanted to preview for you our Institute Day that we are having on Friday. We're really excited about the offerings that we have for our teachers on this day. We're going to be doing some heavy curriculum work and instruction work, and also kind of meeting some of their needs as well as motivating them. So we have a keynote speaker by Dr. Lionel Allen, who will be working with our teachers. He's presenting What Matters Most, Learning from Crisis, and he'll share the most powerful lessons learned from the pandemic. While crises can bring pain, uncertainty, and frustration, they can also provide clarity. So he's going to really come in and help motivate our teachers with their lessons learned and that they have persevered through this time and where we can take education from here. We will also be, once again, partnering with Center for Self-Actualization. We presented a bunch of choice sessions, if you remember, back in October, and some of our teachers really felt like they didn't get to do all of the ones that they had wanted to do. We had so many offerings on that day. So we'll be bringing them back with some of the favorite sessions, and they're also going to be providing additional focus on trauma-informed practices, de-escalation, and SEL in their work that they're doing with our staff on that day. We'll have our next district implementation team where we'll be kind of solidifying our instructional framework that we'll be using across K-8. And we'll also be meeting with our district math team, working on the priority standards that our teachers have been working on really for the past month and a half now as grade level teams. And now we're going to bring everybody together and do some of that vertical articulation work. So we're excited for that as well. So that is Friday. And the next thing I wanted to chat with you all about is our mentoring program. We had our last hot topic with our group. So our mentoring program, we have 21 teachers that are involved this year, new staff members. If you want to go to the next slide, Matt. Our program goals for our mentoring program is to provide new teachers with the tools necessary to be successful in the classroom, obviously. But in addition to that, we want to be able to retain new teachers. And we know that providing teachers with the support that they need in their classrooms, especially in those first years within a district, we are able to retain them at a higher level. So those are our program goals. We've connected our new teachers with wonderful mentors, and they work with them then throughout the entire year. Their program components include our new teacher induction day, which we do at the beginning of the year, where they meet their mentors, spend time with them, learn more about the district. Then they also meet with them quarterly. They do observations. So each mentor teacher observes their mentee a couple of times. It kind of goes through a little coaching cycle with them, providing feedback and things like that in the classroom. And then each mentee also has an opportunity to observe their mentoring teacher as well, so they can see, learn from them. There's nothing that's better than observing other teachers in their classroom. We learn so much from that. And then we also have 2 hot topic sessions where we bring all of the mentors and mentees together, and they have an opportunity to visit with one another, learn from each other, and really just kind of be a part of the collective group. So our first one was back in October. We did a roundtable. They kind of brought their question. I brought the snacks. They were able to ask and network with each other and really learn from each other on topics that were important to them. And then we just had our last one, February 8th. I surveyed them on topics that they really felt were relevant to them and to the year. And we discussed classroom management. We discussed small group instruction. And then I also spoke to them about teacher burnout, because we know that it's real and that it is impactful, and we want to keep these new teachers in the job for a long time. And so we really talked about all aspects of burnout and things that they can do to prevent it. So that's our mentoring program. Any questions?
Sounds great. It sounds like a great
Thank
day
you.
for them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah?
Hi everyone, good evening. So just a quick overview of the food service department. Right now, we're serving under the Summer Seamless program. We normally serve under what's called National School Lunch Program. And under this option, we have all students eating free, regardless of income eligibility. Under this program, we also get an increased rate of reimbursement per meal, which is really helping with some of those pandemic-related issues, the product cost increases, supply chain issues, and such as that. So that's really been helpful. We're, of course, serving breakfast at all buildings, pretty low participation for that program, but that's pretty historical for our district, pretty low turnout. But we do offer it at all buildings. And then our lunch service, of course, is offered at all buildings. And we serve approximately 70% of our enrollment. So meal service, it's good to note that we do offer meal service on e-learning days, so that information will be posted as well. This year is a big year because we have our administrative review, which has been pushed off because of the pandemic, so that's coming at the end of March, so that's a lot to look forward to, I guess. And then again, just repeating about the pandemic-related issues that we're still dealing with, that's making this year challenging, but it's keeping it interesting. So.
Has the federal government made any decision about if they're going to continue the free service food service?
They haven't publicly announced anything, but
I feel like it was right around now last year that they.
Yeah, School Nutrition Association and other advocacy groups are really pushing for it, so I'm hoping that they'll continue it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so as soon as that information comes out, I will definitely.
I think our kids should have the option to eat free every single day at school.
Yeah. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Newman again?
I just wanted to give you an update for everything related to kindergarten.
All things kindergarten.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we have kindergarten registration coming up in March. It's going to be March 14th through April 15th. Parents will complete registration online and then make an appointment with Elizabeth Lopez to finish that process. All students that complete the registration will be eligible for our kindergarten screenings. And so I provided the dates up there. There is an update since the board packet was released. That last dated for Northwest is actually May 12th at Northwest School. And so they're gonna facilitate like a play-based screening to gather information regarding the students' developmental profiles, and that will assist our school teams and principals in placing students in classrooms for next year. And then we'll also use that information to determine who will be eligible for the Kindergarten Jumpstart Summer School Program. And what's new this year is that we're able to apply for a grant, and it will help to pay for the salaries of our teachers and social workers. And this program, what is a little bit different is that we've offered a Kindergarten Jumpstart program for students with very minimal preschool experience, but this grant allows us to also target students that experienced a learning loss due to the pandemic. And so we applied for a grant for $22,500. It will cover the salaries of teachers, social worker, and paraprofessionals, as well as in-district field trips for the summer. So do you have any questions related to that?
Awesome.
No?
Good job getting the grant.
Yes.
Are you writing these grants yourself?
Yeah, it's not that difficult.
Oh, yes, it is.
Keep at it, Peter. Keep at
I know
it.
exactly what writing a grant entails. That's a lot of work. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Moving on to our public comments portion. So a few reminders specifically about the logistics of the public comment portion of every meeting, including this meeting, as is posted on our agenda publicly for every meeting. To respect all of our stakeholders, our commenters, our board, our public, we adhere very closely to the 3-minute limit for comments for everyone. We will set a timer, and we expect everyone to respect their 3 minutes. In addition, we do not respond to public comments at board meetings, but we hear them. We respect, we listen to, and we take into account all of the community members' concerns. If there's a specific question that comes up that we can respond to after the meeting, we will do so. We do have some public comments that were submitted online today, and I will read those first. Okay. First, we have Antonia Phoenix. Good evening, everyone. I am pleading to the Board of Directors of District 124 to please consider the health and safety of staff and students. I am a healthcare worker and I see it every day. COVID is still active in the state of Illinois. Every place you go, there are rules and guidelines. Just as I am meant to wear my scrubs and mask to work, I feel it should be the same to all. Someone could contract COVID and might not stand a chance, while the next might just get mild symptoms. Who wants to be the unlucky one? I know I don't, and I know you don't either. I don't think it's fair to have vaccinated staff and kids wearing masks and unvaccinated staff and kids in the same room. It's just not right. I feel masks should be worn by everyone in school. Please, let's do this together as a family. COVID is still active. Someone out there might not be lucky. Until it knocks on your door, you might never know. Let's keep our mask on for a little longer, please. Let's do it together. We can do this as a family. So that's a public comment. Pardon me? So everyone gets their 3 minutes, including this person who submitted theirs online. In the same respect that we'll extend to you.
That's up there. Why can't we talk too?
You'll get your opportunity.
Okay, well, you guys should have let these people talk and not interrupted them when they were talking either. It's only fair. You know, no one should be commenting.
Helen, I think the next person
Yes,
is Juan Jimenez. You
I'm
can
going to
read his.
continue.
Please do.
Juan Jimenez is next online.
Juan Jimenez would like us to be a mask optional district. Tom Nugent, what is unclear about a judge's ruling and the JCAR ruling about unmasking our children? Both stated this is a power breach, and for D124 to continue to enforce this unlawful masking is very disappointing, to say the least. I demand a clear explanation from our D124 leaders as to why you are not giving parents the option. And then finally, submitted online today. Yeah, finally, okay. I have John McGarry. To the Evergreen Park School District Board and Administration, in light of the current uncertainty regarding COVID-19 mitigations in school, we felt it was important that we voice our concerns. If in the event that schools are given the option to continue with certain mitigations to reduce the spread of COVID-19, we hope this school district will make the moral choice and right choice. Regarding masks in school, the pandemic has not changed to justify altering or dropping a mask policy at this time. Vaccines are vital, but are not enough on their own. The American Academy of Pediatrics guidelines from January of 2022 recommend masks in school in order to keep schools open. The CDC strongly recommends wearing masks indoors during periods of high transmission. According to the CDC COVID-19 data tracker, this includes the entirety of the country, including our wonderful little town. COVID-19 is still a pandemic. Endemic diseases can be controlled, and they do not suddenly overwhelm hospitals or infect significant portions of the workforce every few months over the course of 2 years. Subsequent coronavirus variants of concern may cause future surges, and we can't predict their virulence and contagiousness. The Omicron and BA.2 variants are among the most contagious known diseases, even when compared with measles. COVID-19, was that my 3 minutes?
Yeah, why is the timer set?
That's okay. Was that 3?
I wasn't, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Let's see. COVID-19, Omicron, there we go. COVID-19 remains a disease with potential for severe long-term effects, including changes in the immune system and damages to any organ, including the brain and nervous system. Vaccines and medications may decrease the risk of long-term effects, but it will be some time before we can judge their impact on chronic fatigue syndrome, type 1 diabetes, etc. Okay, we cannot even assume it's risk-free for vaccinated or boosted individuals. Neurological, heart, kidney disease, okay. And new onset psychiatric diseases will take years or even decades to be known, as occurred with recent evidence of the role of Epstein-Barr virus and multiple sclerosis. I also am gonna stick with the 3 minutes, and I think that that's fair, since we didn't start.
I looked at mine.
Mr. McGarry, thank you. So Mr. McGarry has other good things to say, but I need to be respectful of everybody, so I will do that. Okay, so I have 2 green sheets and 2 names that were submitted online today to hold their spot. I think the most diplomatic is alphabetical, because I don't have a timestamp on the rest of these. So we have Burke, Gessert, Kyle, and Nugent. That would be alphabetical. So is Megan Burke here? She's filled out a green sheet. Thank you. Welcome.
Hi. I had a whole big speech and just had to change it all up a little. Well, my name is Megan Burke. My daughter goes to Southeast School. She is 7 years old and she's in 1st grade. Our original thing is to basically ask for parental choice, mask optional as the parent seems fit for their own specific child. We do not think that that is an outrageous request. Everyone has different scenarios. What was said earlier today in this meeting was that someone in the board said they were concerned about the adult workers when the kids are unmasked. Masks might be partially effective to shielding adults, but since when is it ethical to burden our children with the benefit for the adult? Masking is just, okay, sorry. I'm a little nervous. Okay. You say that you're, okay. I am not asking to take masks away. I'm simply looking for our right to choose what is best for our own children, the right to choose as a parent. You say you are going to highly recommend, you're going highly recommended. Why don't you just come out and say mask optional? Okay, let's not make it difficult for the parents, the students, or the staff to try to figure it out like we've been these past 12 days. Come out and say it, mask optional. You know, I don't understand why that is so difficult. Also, you say you have the right to change at any given time if the law states or if you deem fit. The law right now is with the parents. I will decide what is fit for my child, not you. Last time I checked, we live in America. Last time I checked, I do not co-parent with the school board. It has been 12 days since the school district has been defying court orders. You say it's just, you all say you're concerned about the kids, but how about individually? All right, these children are the least of the population that is affected by this virus. All right, they are more likely to be endangered by the flu than it is by COVID-19, and those are in studies.
Yes, it is real
It is real studies, and you can look them up, and I'm just done. Thank you.
Thank you.
In your last 30 seconds, I didn't have.
Are you a green, did you fill out a green sheet?
Well, I wasn't here, but she still has. She can take the rest if you want to sit there.
You can take mine.
Time? 31 seconds.
If you want to start. I have a son, he's in the 5th grade at Northeast. And my biggest concern with the going masked, highly encouraged, and what is going on is the pressure that these teachers are putting on our children, where they are trying to manipulate them and they're trying to get them to feel a certain way. Teachers should not be encouraging kids to go get a vaccine. That is their opinion. You're here to teach my child facts, not your own opinions. When it comes to the health of my child and all the children going to District 124, we know what's best. So if we want our child to go and get a vaccine, that's our choice, and it shouldn't be manipulated by anybody that works in our schools.
Woo! May I have your name, please?
Elizabeth Naris.
What's the last name?
Elizabeth Naris.
Thank you. Okay. I just need to add you to the list. Thank you. Next is Caitlin Gessert.
My main issues are addressed. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Caitlin. Naris. All right. Next is Adrienne Kyle, please.
She can take mine.
Logan. Thanks for having us, finally.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, of course. I want to talk about our petition that we have for over 400 signatures for parental choice in District 124, because reserving the right to change the rules whenever you want, we've already practiced that. When you threw in an adaptive pause, you broke the mask break rule at school, you've been giving doctors advice and soliciting vaccines to children when none of you have a medical license, none of you. That is for the parents to decide what medical treatments their children get, not you, not our corrupt government on the federal, state, or local government. Okay, but here's our petition and what we want. So maybe you can hear us out. So moving forward, we're actually gonna work it together at this. We, the parents and taxpayers of Evergreen Park, want a supportive educational community based on up-to-date current evidence of education, not fear-based. Teach the kids coping mechanisms, including social and emotional essentials to assist in dealing with the pandemic, and give them the mental tools necessary to see light and hope at this time. We need to navigate away from acting as if the children's actions are causing or controlling the virus. We also want a community-based education, not an isolated one. We've chosen to raise our children with all different backgrounds to love and accept each other no matter what our different beliefs are. As members of a community, we need to come together as one community to show unity and acceptance for these kids in order for them to grasp and accept the concepts. Parental choice for vaccines, school guides, education, and school activities only. Unvaccinated children and vaccinated children should be treated the same, no segregation. No further quarantining of healthy children, no more making up your own rules whenever you want to. We support parental choice for masks in school and school-related activities. We want parents to choose whether their children need or want to wear a mask. I have a special needs brother. My mom works at Jewel. She is the most exposed person next to a doctor and a nurse. I get it. I have a 95-year-old grandmother in a nursing home. I get it. These are our children. We don't want their faces covered for the rest of their lives. They have a childhood to uphold. After nearly 2 years, it's time to establish a parental COVID advisory board for open dialogue between parents of the children affected by the rules imposed in the COVID task force currently determining the protocols for the state of Illinois. Lastly, we have extended grace and understanding on the pandemic guidelines for over 22 months now. It is time for our district to navigate away from the failing protocols regarding health and focus entirely on academic, social, and emotional development of the students. We have waited long enough. We're no longer willing to accept the constant and continuous focus on the virus. We want to move on with our lives. We are asking that you do the same. Do not reverse rules. Do not change rules. Do not take mask breaks away from my first grader and put it in the hands of the teacher to decide if she gets one or not. This is not right.
I'm sorry.
Right.
Thank you, Mrs. Kyle.
Thank you. And we have Ryan. Mrs. Nugent, thank you.
Dear board members, I'm here today to remind you that you all have a sworn oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America, but you're failing us. Mandates are not enforceable laws. As elected public servants, you have no jurisdiction or authority to create and enforce mandates. You and everyone employed by this district, such as teachers and administrators, have engaged in the practice of medicine without a license, which is a violation of state law. You are recommending medical procedures and a vaccination that is an experiment and cannot be advertised per federal law. I don't want to hear this discussed in either of my children's classes again. I don't want the promotion of it. I don't want you telling them that they should get it. It's none of your damn business. This is a local administration, and all the members should be respecting our community and without any influence from state or federal authorities. You are very quick to use the phrase rule of law when talking about enforcing mandates, but yet you are technically not following the rule yourselves. Please note, you are also accepting bribes in the form of ESSER funds to enforce these illegal and very immoral mandates. Here's a list of laws D124 is in violation of. 5 ILCS 50 Section 1, 282 Section 10, 282 Section 15. 105 ILCS 129 Section 15, 18 USC 1470, 42 USC 1983 and 1985, 21 USC 360 BBB-3, Harmful to Minors Laws Act, Title 7 1964 Civil Rights Act, Individuals with Disabilities Act, Color of Law, Section 242, Title 18, the Nuremberg Code, which I should all be disgraced about, Protection of Children and International Humanitarian Law, 30-06 1984 Article, Hague Conference on Private International Law, UN Child Protection, international humanitarian law, UNESCO Universal Bioethics Declaration, and the Geneva Declaration of the Rights of the Child. It would be in the board's best interest to stop breaking these laws and give every student, parent, and employee their God-given freedom back. If any members of the board continue to disobey these laws, I would highly recommend resignation or be prepared for the community to take back action. Recall.
Very serious. Very serious. These offenses are the
Yeah, you guys are violating a lot of laws here, so you better educate yourself.
I'm Caitlin Frank. I have 2 children at Northwest School. So without being disrespectful to everyone here in this room, I have a few questions. One of them being, if children are unvaccinated and testing negative, does that make anyone feel more comfortable versus being in a classroom with students who are vaccinated and who are not being tested? My other question is, at this point, I feel like vaccinated or not, everyone is an equal threat. Masked, not masked. Doesn't matter. Everyone is an equal threat. I'm just trying to understand the statement here. Knowing who and who isn't vaccinated in the classroom should not make a difference. Masked, not masked. Vaccinated, not vaccinated. It doesn't matter, and it is not fair to be segregating these students this way and making them feel like they should be masked or they shouldn't be masked, or this kid got the vaccine and I didn't get the vaccine. It doesn't matter. None of this matters, and it's not fair to these kids.
While you're teaching black
Excellent.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So next on our agenda, we have board reports. We have the Arrow report for their January meeting from Mrs. Rayson.
Okay, there were a few updates at Arrow. One notable update is that they still have 48 vacancies, unfortunately.
Wow.
But, I know.
Wow.
But the one thing that gives them some hope that they'll be able to fill these is that at that particular meeting, a memorandum of understanding was passed to convert the pay for aides to $19 an hour to be more competitive. They were under that rate. So for instructional assistants, so they're hopeful that that raise of pay may attract more candidates. So that's one thing that they're doing to try to make sure that their programs are fully staffed. We also viewed the drone video and got an update from the construction firm.
Very
so as we do at each one, but they are still doing winter work and waiting for the thaw, but they are looking for the precasting to begin in early April. So that'll be a big step. Let's see. And then the last thing that I think is probably the most relevant is that there were interviews for the executive director. They had 10 applicants that they had narrowed down to. They narrowed it down to 7 for interviews. They had 3 finalists, and the latest news as of this afternoon is that they have decided on 1 candidate, and that will be voted on in the early March meeting of both the executive and governing board. So they're hopeful that the contract will be extended to that person who comes to them with a wealth of experience.
Maybe starting for next.
It would be starting next year, yes.
That sounds great. Oh my gosh.
I had the opportunity to sit on the interview committee, and without speaking in relationship to confidentiality, I am thrilled and hopeful that this person is recommended and accepts the position with open arms, and I think it's a bright future for Arrow.
Good things going on. That's awesome. Thank you. Oh, that would be me. You haven't heard from me enough yet this evening, so I'm going to talk about the DIRT meeting that was on Monday, January 31st, right here. So we had lots of positive comments. I love the DIRT meeting, the district review team meeting to bring all 5 buildings together and administration and board members, myself and Ms. Jones. So I love hearing all the good things that are going on and service and celebrations and just some really positive things. And there's always, babies and puppies and weddings and things like that. It's just awesome. I love that. I love hearing that. I really do. And I really want to appreciate the service that, Northwest did a Toys for Tots drive. Central did a recycling and pill bottle donations. and they were trying to find money, like someplace to donate money. It was just really commendable. So pretty cool.
Did they decide somewhere?
I don't know. I suggested a couple that were close here and even out to Evergreen Park, almost home, right?
Yes, or
home,
Christmas
right?
Without Cancer.
Yes.
That's
I mean, there's always good opportunities. So
I love seeing kids do
I will
fundraising
follow
for
up
something
and give
like
you an
that.
answer to that. How about that?
That's awesome. Just
Yeah.
curious.
I was just always, like I said, I'm always so impressed by what the kids are doing in the building. There was an issue to revisit from past meeting that was regarding special education services, having a change in educational placement and environment, and they're going to continue, so that's a repeat, to continue that resolution. Asking for even more communication from the sending school to the new placement, even if that's within the district, was one solution. Obviously, whoever's receiving that student, who's receiving that new student, and what do we need to do to help that child be successful. And there was even a specific situation about a student who started in January, and they didn't have necessarily all the information that they needed yet, and so really how to get that guy or gal like up to speed and learning right away and feeling comfortable. So the other, was it the social worker having their like point person maybe in the building? So there were a couple different things that were discussed as solutions to go forward, which I thought was really great. Okay, you two were both there.
Yes.
Is that enough?
Yes.
On that first one? Okay. So issue one was what should we do when the remote learning sub doesn't accept the invitation to join the classroom? So it was not a, well, these are my notes from like 2 weeks ago. So, so they kind of walked through the process of, reminder first and make known how to do that, expectations, timing, that kind of thing. They talked about that when there's remote learning, it's prioritized the math and ELA. The core subjects need to be knocked out first, and then from there some more optional like the science and social studies. Not that I think those are optional, but we got to stick with the core. So that was one thing that was discussed. One question that came up. Issue two was with the increasing numbers of COVID cases with staff and students after winter break. Is there a chance of having the schools go remotely for a week after spring break? And the answer is always we cannot just go remote. We just can't. It doesn't work that way. The question was, had this been brought up? It was brought up. Give ample time for students to find childcare, make changes to their work plan. We cannot just up and go remote. We need to have a really good reason to do that. And so we kind of have to wait and see. And hopefully, it is April. We thought that was an optimistic thing. It should be warmer weather. People are outside more. So Easter's actually pretty late this year. So that was a perk, a positive. And then finally was issue three was staff members are hired throughout the year. What orientations and training are provided to the staff members that weren't here at the beginning of the year? All 25 of our new people. So, how can we ensure that these staff members also have the necessary training? So when they start off cycle, how do we make sure that that happens? And new staff are given appropriate training and orientations before they start the job was the answer to that one too. So it was, like I said, always positive, and there was some talk then about onboarding and mentors and things like that, things that we've already actually spoken to this evening as well. So that was, again, it's always a positive meeting. I always like that. So I like knowing what's important to our staff in the buildings too, right? So thank you.
Thank you.
And my papers are all over the place. Forgive me. Policy. There's a lot to say about policy. Who wants it?
Claudia, do you want to start off? Am I starting out? Or either way. Okay. I am going to talk about policy 4165, which is Aaron's Law. And for those who might have little ones and you're not necessarily familiar, Aaron's Law is named after a childhood sexual assault survivor. Her name is Erin Marin. She's from Illinois. And she passed legislation to create awareness and prevention of child sexual abuse and grooming behaviors. The law is currently passed in 37 states. And the policy has been in effect, I want to say since 2009. Yeah, since 2009. The reason that it's being updated in the current policy is because a lot has changed. Grooming looks a lot different electronically. So our school social workers and our current teachers do a fantastic job at making sure that we are addressing sexual abuse in an age-appropriate manner. It is evidence-informed curriculum for pre-K through 12. Obviously, we go to 8, but there's also evidence-informed training for school personnel on child sexual abuse and evidence-informed education information for parents, guardians within our school handbook. So we are just making sure that as the changes within society and the way these people go about their assaults, we are keeping ourselves abreast of the new information and protecting our kids at all costs.
Great job.
And I yield back.
Tag.
Ms. Rayson.
Thank you, good. Well, we're working through a pretty big packet, as I think we mentioned the last time we gave an update. So there's pretty significant number of policies that have updates, but for many of the first readings listed on our agenda, the majority of the policies are unchanged. There were updates to the footnotes, so we won't go into detail about those because they, for the most part, just stay the same to what our current practice is. The big ones to mention are that there's now in place a policy that requires both the superintendent, Dr. Woodland, to report any felonies among staff to the Illinois State Board of Education. So to determine the impact on licensure, if appropriate. So that's one new policy that was not included before. The one that we're doing one of the ones that we're doing a first and second reading on tonight has to do with our grievance procedure. And we're simply updating a name to reflect our current staff. So Mr. Abraham will be listed as a contact person, and the previous name of someone who's no longer with the district is removed. So that update is just pertains to the contact person. Okay, and then Open Meeting Act. There was also a policy where it updated the wording about when we can conduct meetings through Zoom, so that it would be appropriate for us to call a Zoom meeting in the event of like an emergency. So that just sort of solidifies that. Fortunately, that hasn't been necessary, but if it is, we're ready. Yeah, and I think there was one also about requiring professional development about trauma-informed practices. So that was one that we have listed here to adopt as well. And I think that covers. There was one about coal tar and pesticides, but I think that's just a notification that is just consistent with the law that we need to notify in the event of.
I guess I'm curious on the one policy. It just I did not notice it, but the policy of the superintendent needing to report any felonies of our current staff. Like, how would we track something like that? I mean, do we update our background reporting on all of our staff, or just the first time when?
It would be in the event I was notified.
Gotcha. Okay.
I asked the exact same question.
Yeah.
Like now we know. Somebody who's been on staff for 10 years or even 2 years, like we don't update their backgrounds every year. I mean, we don't check something like that.
Well,
I didn't think we did.
There was an instance where, not in our school district, but there was an employee who was applying for a job somewhere else, and they did a background check, and something came up from that particular potential employer, and they weren't eligible for hire, and then that potential employer notified the current.
Oh, I guess, yeah.
But I don't think it's new for like the current employer to act if they're notified. Yeah. What's new is that you're notifying the Illinois superintendent.
Correct.
And it would impact licensure.
It would potentially impact licensure.
Right, yeah, no, I was just curious how we would know something like that. I didn't know if they were updating our procedures. Okay. Other than new hires.
Right.
I think that sums it up, unless I missed something that you'd like to add.
The only other addition too is we did not go through the entire packet, and there's some policies that we will actually discuss in closed session. And that's just relevant to information that as a board, we believe as a policy committee that you all need to have collective information to then make an informed decision relevant to that policy. So we've held off on certain policies for the time being, and then we will then eventually
Some of those
act on
policies
them.
are so deep, and like they give us all of it. I can remember, yeah, Colleen Shea, like you'll get this much. That's like, where do you start? I mean, like, how do you know what's put? I mean, you do.
This is the policy, and then there's 7 pages of footnotes.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. I don't miss policy. I'm so sorry.
Thank
like
you.
7
Thank you
years
for
I was on
taking that
policy.
on. Yes. Okay. Anything more?
That's it.
All right. So we can move on to our action items. Okay.
Oh, yes. Give me a second. Sorry.
In a moment, move on to our
Yeah,
action
yes.
items. I will read them slowly.
I'm right.
Okay, there you go. So first, we're going to start out with our consent agenda, which is item number A. Under that consent agenda, we have number 1, approve monthly transaction reports for January of 2022. Number 2, approve fund balance reports from January of 2022. 3 is to approve expenditure report and projected payroll report for February of 2022. 4 is to approve board minutes from the regular meeting of January 19th, 2022. 5 is to approve the closed session minutes from the regular meeting of January 19th, 2022. 6 is to approve destruction of closed session tapes from October of 2017. 7 is to approve personnel recommendations. We have 7 additions. Are any of them?
Can I just take a moment to inform everyone that we hired an 8th grade math teacher at Sunville?
Good job. I can't wait to meet her. It's very
We are
exciting.
so excited. She's going to actually be in our newsletter next week. We're going to announce it.
Nice.
Whole community.
That's awesome.
We're going to start a new trend where when we hire new certified staff, at least to begin with, that we're going to put them in our newsletter to introduce them to our community.
That's awesome.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so lots of props there. So we have 1 FMLA, 1 resignation with intent to retire, which isn't new, and 3 resignations which aren't actually, 2 of them aren't resignations. They are transfers. Yeah, so that's really great. And the other one is June 13th, 2022 for the effective date. So that's after the school year has ended. So if I could please have someone to please make a first motion to accept consent agenda A as outlined.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Claudia. And a second.
Second.
Excellent, Michael. And a roll call, please.
Claudia Parker.
Yay.
Michael Amiller.
Yay.
Denise Jones.
Yes.
Rachel Merrickwin.
Yes.
Judy Basin.
Yes.
Kim Leonard. Yes. Colleen Klimzak.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Excellent. Action item B is to approve staff recommendation for the 2022-23 school year as listed below, and we heard about that a little earlier. So that's the addition of special ed teachers, 1 psychologist, and 1 full-time social work position. If I could have someone to please make a first motion.
I'll make the first motion.
And a second.
Second.
And a roll call, please.
Kim Leonard, yes. Michael Allmiller.
Yay.
Denise Jones.
Yes.
Colleen Klimzak.
Yes.
Claudia Parker.
Yeah.
Judy Basin.
Yes.
Rachel Merrickwin.
Yes.
All right. Motion passed.
Excellent. Item number C, action item number C is to approve the property tax grant resolution. Do I have like a 7-page document I have to read about the resolution? Do I?
Yeah, there's like a 3-page.
I was being facetious. I don't have that.
She's like, yes, actually, open it up. You're going to read it.
Am I supposed to read that?
You have it? No.
Oh, no, you don't.
Well, you don't have to read it.
The whole room sighs relief. Thank goodness. Okay. So let's just act on it, right? Action item C is to approve the tax grant resolution. May I have a first, please?
I'll make the motion.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Judy. And a roll call, please.
Were you going to say third?
I did. I almost did. Blah, blah, blah.
Rachel Merrickwin.
Yes.
Judy Basin.
Yes.
Kimberly Leonard, yes. Claudia Parker. Michael Allmiller.
Yay.
Denise Jones.
Yes.
Claudia Parker. Oh, Colleen Klimzak. I'm giving you 2 votes tonight, Claudia.
It's fine. It's the same vote. We're good. Next is to, D is to approve first reading of new board policy 4165 as recommended by the Illinois Association of School Boards that we've heard about this evening. A first, please, to accept that. Thanks. Denise, and a second.
I'll second.
Claudia, a second, and a roll call, please.
All right, Denise Jones. Yes. Claudia Parker.
Yes.
Kim Leonard, yes. Judy Rayson.
Yes.
Rachel Merrickwin.
Yes.
Michael Miller.
Yeah.
Colleen Clemzak.
Yes.
Motion passed. I have like repeating names tonight.
Excellent, that's okay. I was just debating, do I have to read all the numbers, but no. Okay, so, item E is to approve the first reading of revised board policies listed on the agenda and as recommended by the Illinois Association of School Boards. May I have a first, please?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Judy. And a second?
I'll second.
Excellent, Rachel. And a roll call, please.
All right, Judy Rayson.
Yes.
Rachel Merrickwin.
Yes.
Michael Miller. Denise Jones.
Yes.
Come on, don't throw me off. Kim Leonard, yes. Claudia Parker.
Yes.
Colleen Clemzak.
Yes.
Yes. Motion passed.
Excellent. Item number F is to approve first reading of revised board policies as listed on our agenda and as recommended by the Board Policy Committee. If I may have a first motion, please.
I'll make the motion.
Second. Okay, so Rachel and Denise. And a roll call, please.
Rachel Merrickwin.
Yes.
Denise Jones.
Yes.
Michael Miller. Claudia Parker. Kim Leonard, yes. Judy Rayson.
Yes.
Colleen Clemzak.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Excellent. And then finally, not finally, so G is, I was getting ahead.
I know.
I heard that Rachel's, approve second reading and adoption of revised board policies as listed on the agenda and as recommended by the Board Policy Committee. May I have a first, please?
I'll make the first.
And a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Judy. And a roll call, please.
Kim Leonard, yes. Judy Rayson.
Yes.
Rachel Merrickwin.
Yes.
Michael Miller. Claudia Parker. Denise Jones.
Yes.
Colleen Clemzak.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Excellent. And then finally, now I can say it. Finally, action number H is to approve alternate academic setting in lieu of student expulsion. May I have a first, please? Excellent. Denise, and a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Rachel. And a roll call, please.
Denise Jones. Rachel Merrickwin.
Yes.
Michael Miller.
Yeah.
Judy Rayson.
Yes.
Kimberly Leonard, yes. Claudia Parker. Colleen Clemzak.
Yes.
Motion is passed.
Excellent. Okay. Next, we will be recessing to closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district or legal counsel, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee or legal counsel to determine its validity, and collective negotiating matters between the district and its employee or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees. May I have a first to recess?
I'll make that motion.
And a second?
Who did the first? I'm sorry.
Claudia. Do we have a second?
Second.
Rachel. Okay, excellent. And
All
roll
right.
call?
Claudia Parker. Rachel Merrickwin.
Yes.
Judy Rayson.
Yes.
Kimberly Leonard, yes. Michael Miller.
Yeah.
Denise Jones.
Yes.
And Colleen Clemzak.
Yes.
Motion is passed.
Excellent. So we are going to adjourn to closed session, or excuse me, recess to closed session.
We have one action.
We have
but
one action item, but it's not terribly exciting.
Yeah, no.
So I don't know if you all want to stick around for that or not.
No. Go home.
Yeah, go on, go home. Thank you all very much for being here this evening on this rainy and